Julio was a banker who worked at a renowned bank, married to Sabrina for 10 years, a meticulous woman full of grandeur. Julio worked hard and didn't let anything be lacking for his beloved wife. Sabrina, on the other hand, was a philosophy professor at a prestigious and highly respected college. The couple had no children, although Julio always wanted to be a father and dreamed of seeing a child running around the house, filling it with joy. But Sabrina didn't like the idea. To her, getting pregnant, enduring morning sickness with a baby in her belly, wasn't part of her plans. She enjoyed life and believed that a child would only disrupt her plans for happiness. This conversation caused many arguments between Julio and Sabrina. She wouldn't yield to her husband's request. However, everything was about to change when Julio decided to hire help for household chores. After hiring a maid service, they sent a lovely young woman named Alice to the couple, a beautiful widow and mother of 2 children, a boy and a girl. Although she received a pension from her deceased husband, Alice didn't find it sufficient and decided to take the risk of working as a maid to help raise her children, ensuring they lacked nothing, as they were her joy. Upon arriving at the couple's mansion, she introduces herself. Julio seems impressed by the girl, but Sabrina doesn't show the same sentiment. She appears jealous and remains cold and formal. "You can start working here. You'll have a good salary, meals, a maid's room, and Sundays off," says Julio. "Thank you very much, Mr. Julio. With this, I'll be able to provide a decent future for my children," replies Alice with a smile and politeness. At that moment, Julio says, "You have children, how interesting. In case you have no one to leave them with, you can bring them here. The house is big, there's plenty of space. I don't mind." Alice is very grateful for her boss's words but says he shouldn't worry, as she'll manage. And Alice starts her work. However, Sabrina isn't happy with her husband's decision. With a serious face, she says, "Julio, have you gone mad? Since when do we allow the maid's children to stay in our house? I don't want brats messing around in the house, especially not the children of a maid." But Julio wins Sabrina over, saying, "My dear, it's not that serious. Besides, having children running around the house can be fun, it could help break the boredom of our routine until we have our own children." The couple continued discussing the matter and tried not to argue. Julio loved Sabrina and was a faithful husband, respecting Alice. They had a good employer-employee relationship. Sabrina, on the other hand, tried to treat Alice well, but over time, the wife began to change, making Alice work more than usual, even dirtying her with tasks involving filth. Sabrina's goal was to make Alice look as unkempt as possible, fearing that her husband Julio might prefer the maid, something completely out of the question, as Julio was a man of respect who abhorred infidelity and betrayal. However, Julio couldn't help but notice the differences between the two, Alice's humility and kindness compared to Sabrina's pride and jealousy. On days when Alice had no one to leave her children with, she would take them to her employer's house, as he had allowed her to do so. They were 2 cheerful, well-mannered, and very kind children, and Julio enjoyed the days when Sabrina had frequent outings and went to work as a university professor of philosophy, so he could have fun with the children. He had already grown fond of those kids, and it often happened that the children stayed with their mother at the house, which made Sabrina increasingly ill, causing a certain discomfort for Alice, seeing that her employer was becoming more and more upset with her husband's relationship with her children, whom the children affectionately called Uncle. She decided not to take them to her employer's house anymore to ease her employer's anger and not cause a terrible atmosphere between her and her husband. But on a day when Julio decided to go on a trip to a banking conference, Sabrina showed her true intention. She began to mistreat and humiliate Alice in every possible way, including humiliating her children. Furious, Sabrina said, "You're eyeing my husband. Don't pretend to be innocent, women like you don't fool me." But Alice, even though mistreated, said gently, "Ma'am, I am a woman of respect. I would never get involved with other women's husbands. I wasn't raised that way." And Sabrina replied, "I hope so, girl. And I don't want to see your brats in my house anymore." And so the days of Julio's trip went on, living in this hell. On the day Julio was due to return from his trip, Sabrina said in a harsh tone, "Woe betide you if you tell my husband anything. Otherwise, you'll be out on the street, and I won't give you any recommendation letter, and I'll tarnish your reputation so that you won't get a job in any household in this city." Alice thought of her children and remained silent, enduring Sabrina's humiliations. At the end of the banking conference, Julio returned from his trip, bringing expensive gifts for his beloved wife. And so, the couple's life continued. Julio also brought some toys for Alice's children, saying he would like to see them at his house for a while. Despite her annoyance, Sabrina yielded to her husband's plea and let Alice's children stay for one more day. She practically despised the maid's children, but out of respect for her husband, she tolerated the situation. However, life was about to play a trick on Sabrina that she never imagined would happen on a Sunday. Julio gave Alice the day off to be with her children, and she decided to go out and have fun with them. While walking on the street with her children, to her surprise, from a distance she saw Sabrina leaving a hotel with a very elegant and handsome man. Alice was astonished by this. Quickly, she took out her phone and filmed Sabrina and the stranger in intimate moments of affection. Politely, Alice asked her children to look back towards a candy store, while she continued filming. Sabrina was so distracted with her lover that she didn't even notice she was being filmed by Alice. Alice saw Sabrina and her lover getting into a car and driving away. She also realized that all the money her husband gave to Sabrina was actually for her lover. Alice then took her children by the hand. Her daughter asked if everything was okay, and Alice said it was nothing and that everything was fine. Her son said he thought he had seen his boss's wife at that moment, but Alice told her son that it was just his imagination and that the boss's wife was with him. Upon arriving home, feeding her children, and putting them to bed, Alice said to herself, "That's why she's so jealous, picking on me. She's cheating on Mr. Julio with that guy and even spends the money that the boss gives her on that man. What a woman, my God, how can she be so ungrateful to Mr. Julio, who is a good man?" Alice decided not to reveal the secret to her employer because, as an employee, she followed a rule to the letter that employees should not get involved in their employer's personal lives. However, Alice, at the same time, felt cornered and seen as an accomplice. She decided that she would only act if necessary, and she could only pray that her employer would discover the truth. After 10 months of work, Alice began to see that Julio and Sabrina were arguing every day and seemed to not get along. Sabrina was demanding a divorce from her husband and a division of half of the assets they have together. Julio angrily said, "Sabrina, why do you want to divorce me? Do you have someone else? Don't forget that the house and the cars, everything here, is mine. I inherited this house from my parents, and I bought the cars with my money." Sabrina, in the heat of the argument, said, "Yes, Julio. But we are married in community property, so everything that is yours is also mine. I don't love you anymore, and our relationship is not the same. You and your obsession with having children are bothering me. I don't want to be anyone's incubator." The couple argued fiercely. Alice just watched everything from afar and tried to do her job without getting involved in the couple's life, although she felt very bad knowing the truth and not telling her employer. One unexpected day, Julio asked Alice to follow his wife and find out why she was constantly going out, and whatever she discovered, to tell him, as he was very apprehensive about this change in behavior. At that moment, Alicia became nervous, and Julio kindly asked, "Is everything okay? Is something bothering you? Whatever it is, tell me. If you need anything, I'll help you." And Alicia, very apprehensive, said, "Mr. Julio, don't you trust your wife? And why are you asking me this?" Julio gently replied, "I've been hearing a lot of rumors that Sabrina is cheating on me with another man. I just want the truth, no matter how harsh it may be. I prefer the truth over being deceived. If you know something, tell me, because I have the right to know." Alicia, at that moment, said that she followed a rule where employees should not get involved in their employers' personal lives, but she also felt apprehensive about hiding something from them. Alicia said to Julio, "I am here to work and serve you. But I ask you, do you really want to know the truth? I don't want you to see it as if I'm getting involved in your and Mrs. Sabrina's problems. This could harm me at this moment." Julio said calmly and kindly, "I know you obey the rule of not getting involved in your employer's personal life, but rules can be broken if there is a very strong reason. And if you know something, tell me, and I will accept the truth, even if it pains me." So, after a conversation with Julio, Alicia told him the whole truth, showed him the footage on her phone, which left Julio stunned to learn that he was being deceived by Sabrina and that everything he had lived with his wife was a lie. At that moment, Julio said, "Alice, I am very grateful to know the truth. And don't feel bad thinking you're ruining my marriage. Sabrina destroyed it, not you. I know how apprehensive it must have been for you to keep this during all these months, but Sabrina has another thing coming. And rest assured that I won't involve you in this." Julio shook Alice's hand and asked her to keep that footage with him. And so Alice sent the image to him, and Julio stored the footage on a pen drive that he kept with him all the time. Julio told Alice, "I will give Sabrina the divorce, as she desires, but you must pretend you don't know anything on the day of the hearing and asset division. She's in for a big surprise." And so they pretended they didn't know anything. After a heated argument with his wife, Julio agrees to give Sabrina the divorce. She has no idea that Julio already knows the truth. Julio was burning with anger inside, but he tried to calm himself down. On the day of the hearing, where the asset division would be made, Sabrina was giving her speech as a woman unloved, dissatisfied with her marriage. But Julio had his ace up his sleeve. The two started arguing with each other, but soon Julio presented to the judge all the evidence that Sabrina was unfaithful and had an affair with a man she met at a nightclub. And the evidence of his wife's infidelity in front of everyone was an investigation he secretly conducted, after learning the truth through Alice. Sabrina was completely shocked. "Is it true? In this, you were sincere. In our first fights, I would have given you the divorce without any problem, as I noticed that you were despising me for a long time. But finding out that you were giving my money to meet the needs of your lover was too much for me. From now on, you are no longer part of my life. Our marriage ends here." And Sabrina, astonished, asked, "How did you get this? This is fabricated. This is not true." And Julio, smiling, said, "Sabrina, my dear wife, it doesn't matter who gave me this. What matters is knowing that you lied to me, deceived me, and were unfaithful to me. Now you can move on with your lover. Be happy." And so that hearing was concluded. Julio won the case, and Sabrina was humiliated in front of everyone present there. Out of pity, Julio allowed Sabrina to keep her jewelry, as it was the only thing she was entitled to. Upon arriving home, Julio ordered Alice to pack all of Sabrina's belongings and put everything in suitcases. He instructed to put all her things outside. Then, Julio called Sabrina to come and get her things, otherwise he would give everything to the beggars or donate it to charity. Sabrina was apprehensive, went to the house, and saw her belongings outside. With no alternative, she took her suitcases and left that place humiliated. Julio, although sad, decided to move on but was relieved to know the truth. He found the first few weeks without Sabrina in his house strange, but was happy not to live a lie. Sabrina started living with her younger sister, who reluctantly welcomed her. Over time, Julio began to see life differently, thanks to spending time with Alicia's children. He believed that, at the right moment, true love would appear, and fate would soon give him a chance to love again. As time passed, Julio began to have feelings for Alicia, and the maid seemed to reciprocate her boss's affection. Julio smiled and said, "Alice, I don't want you to be just my maid anymore. I want you to be my wife. I'm in love with you, I want to be part of your life and your children's lives." Alicia, amazed, said, "Mr. Julio, I don't even know what to say, but I confess that lately I've had feelings for you. It doesn't hurt to try, I'll take the risk." Julio, jokingly, said, "Don't call me Mr. anymore, I'm no longer married to Sabrina. Call me Julio. I don't want to be your boss anymore, I want to be your boyfriend and your future husband." After a long time together, they started a romance. He had already won the affection of Alicia's children, who began to call him dad over time, and he loved the children. In 4 years of relationship, he decided to propose to Alice. Alicia, very moved, said, "Julio, I feel very honored. I have 2 children, do you really want this for your life and mine? Here, our future will be defined," and Julio, with a smile, said, "I love you and I love them as if they were my own children. I want you by my side, I want to be happy, and also our future children. I'll love and raise them all equally." Alice accepts. After a month of preparation, Julio and Alicia get married. They do everything in a simple and reserved ceremony, for family and close friends. 3 months later, Alicia becomes pregnant, and they have a son, a boy, whom they name Carlos. That child further united that couple. On a day when Julio, Alice, and their children decided to play in a park, a woman passed by them covering her head with a baseball cap to hide her face. It was Sabrina, who, ashamed, was amazed to learn that Julio, her ex-husband, had married the maid, was raising her children, and even had a child with her. Julio recognized Sabrina but preferred to stay with his family and pretend that sight was just something from the past. Sabrina continued to work as a philosophy professor at a college, surviving on her salary, even though students occasionally made jokes about her regarding her infidelity with her ex-husband Julio, her lover who abandoned her when he found out she was left with nothing, and now lived in a simple house with little comfort, missing the luxurious life she had with Julio, and now a housemaid and her children were enjoying the life that used to be hers. And so, Sabrina lamented the lost time. Julio, on the other hand, stood firm with his family, his beloved wife Alicia, his stepchildren whom he loved as if they were his own, and his son Carlos, born from the relationship between Alice and Julio, thus showing true love between them. This reflection invites us to act more consciously and value the people around us, cultivating and nurturing love and loyalty while we have the chance. After all, it's difficult to measure how much these feelings mean until they're absent. If you enjoyed this story, leave your opinion in the comments, and of course, leave your like, subscribe, and activate the notification bell to not miss any videos. Warm regards, and see you soon.